Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
I'm from Europe, and I have just a simple question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. My understanding is the Quran and also the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For me, it doesn't make sense for us to obey the messenger if the message hasn't been preserved. This is a general understanding I have of the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, I've come across a statement that I've heard recently in the past, most recently in a debate between a brother of ours that said that it is understood that only 95% of Sahih Bukhari, which I believe is the most authentic book apart from the Book of Allah, is authentic, and maybe a small portion of it is not authentic. How would a Muslim who believes in the Sunnah, who blindly follows the Sunnah of the Prophet, the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet, how can he distinguish between the truly absolute authentic hadiths in Bukhari and those that are disputed, even if they might be a few? And if this is even a true statement, that there are a few unauthentic hadiths in the book.
Okay. Is it okay if Muhammad Ali answers this question, inshallah, and then we'll get to Sheikh Uthman? Yeah. Muhammad Ali, are you there, brother?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to mention is this common misconception about Bukhari, like it's being the only book of hadith that Muslims believe in, or that narrations of Bukhari are the only narrations we have. We just rely on what Bukhari himself said, right? We have many books that was written before Bukhari. The difference between Bukhari and the others is that Bukhari, he made his collection only authentic. As Iraqi, he says, Al-Fayt al-Iraqi is a very basic book for anyone who wants to learn hadith, obviously. He says, وَأَوَّلُ مَنْ أَلَّفَ فِي الصَّحِيحِ مُحَمَّدٌ وَخُصَّ بِالتَّرْجِيحِ. The first person to author a book about the authentic hadith was Muhammad. He's referring obviously to Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Bukhari. He was the first person to make a book restricted to Sahih hadith, right? So now, before Bukhari, I have a small list here, a very small list, to give you some of the hadith that was there, written by companions or tabi'in or people before Bukhari in general. Bukhari was born 194, he died 256, yeah? So we have Sahifa, the Sahifa of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As is a companion. We have his Sahifa, he's written books in it, right? He's written hadith in it, sorry. We have the Sahifa of Sumra ibn Jundub, is a companion. We have the Sahifa of Jabir ibn Abdullah, is another companion. We have the Sahifa of the Al-Ashaj. It has 1,920 ahadith, right? And this is a tabi'i who lived at the time, who was born at the time of Abu Bakr. So like 2 years after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, we have a tabi'i, Hammam, which is obviously he took the ahadith from Abu Hurairah. He was the student of Abu Hurairah. So this is another tabi'i. He died 131, right? We have, and by the way, we have these. We have this manuscripts. If you go, you will find these manuscripts. It's not like we're saying they did this and we don't have it. And we have the physical evidence. You can go and check it yourself, right? We have another tabi'i, which is a person who came after a companion, Abu Zubair. He had a sahifa, right? Imam al-Asfahani, he gathered the sahifa. Okay, we have Al-Muthanna ibn Abdullah, he died 150. We have Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj, right? We have Ibrahim ibn Taham. We have Abu Sa'id al-Kharazani. We have Muwatta Malik, he had his Muwatta. We have the full Muwatta of Imam Malik, which has around 3,000 ahadith, including the narrations of the Sahaba and the Athar. It's like 3,000, right? And we have also his Mudawwana, which is written by his student, right? Qasim ibn Abdul Rahman. We have his Mudawwana, which is a Q&A, and it also contains a hadith. We have a hadith from Imam Shafi'i in his books, Al-Risala, Al-Umm, and other hadith, right? We have Jami' Ma'mar ibn Rushd, right? Who died 153, right? It's in Sana'a, it's in Yemen. If you go, you can read it yourself. We have Abdullah ibn Mubarak. He wrote Kitab al-Zuhd, he wrote Kitab al-Jihad, he wrote al-Musnad, he wrote many other books, right? So these are just a little few. I can give you a lot more, by the way. This is just some of the people who wrote even before Bukhari was born, right? So if you take Sahih al-Bukhari and you throw it somewhere else, that's not an issue for us. Reality is all of these ahadith was there, before Bukhari was there, right? Musnad Imam Ahmad and Musnad Abu Shayba, it has more. Musnad Imam Ahmad alone has 3 times the hadith in Bukhari. We have mustakhrajat, which are written on the hadith narrated in Bukhari, but in different books of hadith, right? So it's not like we're relying on Bukhari. But let me mention this key point. Why do we accept? Why do we keep mentioning Bukhari? Why do we say it's the second authentic book after the Quran? And I think this is a point where people miss. The reason we say that is because the nation, the ummah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ have accepted the book to be authentic. So what is validating the book is not Bukhari himself, but the nation, the ummah, gathering on this book and saying this is authentic. When Bukhari wrote his book, he went to Ahmad ibn Hanbal and he went to Yahya ibn Ma'in, and he went to these people, and these people have testified that his book was okay. So he didn't just write the book and that's it. No, the people in the community who are experts in the science of hadith have authenticated the narrations that he brought forward. Yahya ibn Ma'in, for example, he used to go and teach his teacher. He used to go to Abdullah ibn al-Madini and he listens to Abdullah ibn al-Madini. And one time he said, let me teach him, let me test his memory. He's okay, he's everything, but we don't know his memory, he's old now. So he sat down and he mixed the narration, the chain of narration with the matn, with the words itself. Then Abdullah ibn al-Madini, he got angry. And Imam Ahmad was sitting next to him. He said, this will not come from you. It comes from this guy. It comes from him. He's the one who would dare to test his teacher, basically. They used to teach their own teachers. The reason being, this is the religion, right? We don't rely on what people just say, this is authentic, this is not authentic. No, the community used to know who the liar were. The people used to go on the street and say, Fulan is a liar. This person is a liar. And scream in the road, don't take from this guy, is a liar. If he made one lie about a hadith. So the reality is it was a consensus of a community. And that is the reason we accept it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the Quran, in chapter 4, verse 115, he says, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ, whoever opposes the messenger and takes any way other than the way of the believers. So what validates the consensus is the Quran. The Quran states that if the believers have a consensus upon a certain topic, a certain subject, then we accept it. So the reason we're accepting this hadith is because the Quran validates the consensus of the believers, right? And also Allah, he says in the Quran about the companions, they are trustworthy, you can take from them. He says in chapter 9, verse 100, right? That those who follow them and the companions, Allah is pleased with them. And they are pleased with him. So we are not just basing things on what we think, rather that we have a very strict criteria, right? The issue is, as the Sheikh stated, is that the people don't learn. The people don't look what authentic chain is. Like the brother who came, his name is Muhammad ibn Khalid, I think, or something like that. His question was out of ignorance of the understanding of hadith. He thinks that people, for example, today who authenticate a hadith or say the hadith is weak, this is started today, for example, and this is just the opinion of Sheikh al-Albani. No, this was at every age from the time of Prophet Muhammad. These people existed from the beginning, and these people used to authenticate the narration from the beginning. Even the companions, even though they accept that the other companion is a trustworthy, just companion, they used to ask for evidence. Like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, some other companion have told him a certain thing. He says, who heard it from, who other than you heard it from the Prophet? And that doesn't mean that he's questioning his integrity. No, because this is religion. He's making sure 100% that this information is true. So the process of authentication existed from the beginning. Then when we reach the time of Bukhari, the major scholars of hadith accepted Bukhari to be the most authentic hadith book. Why? Based on the criteria he used. It was the most strict criteria of anyone to use in hadith terminology and hadith methodology, right? Now you say if someone is criticizing some of a hadith of Bukhari, you have people who are under Bukhari. Bring someone who's first from the level of Bukhari to criticize Bukhari. We have Imam al-Daraqutni, of course, he's a major scholar, right? But his majority of his criticisms was that, oh, Bukhari, look, you have this criteria, but you didn't follow this criteria in this hadith. He's not talking about the hadith itself. He's talking about Bukhari's criteria of hadith. He says, you said a condition that a person must meet another person, for example. This person didn't meet this person. So you missed this criteria in this hadith. So criticisms are not what people think, that they criticize the hadith itself for necessity. No, sometimes they criticize the criteria that the person, he said, I'm going to follow this criteria in my book, right? So the reason we accept Bukhari, I hope I made this point clear. The reason we accept Bukhari is because it was the consensus of the Ummah. All the hadith of Bukhari exist before Bukhari. You can go, you can read it yourself, you can see it. It's not like we need Sahih al-Bukhari, right? But we accept it because of the acceptance of the ummah of it.
Muhammad Ali, I don't have a problem. I understand that there are works that were made before Sahih Bukhari. I understand there are works that were within 50, 60, 70 years between the Prophet and the companions of the Tabi'in. I understand all these things. The problem I have recently is that, and I'm sure I can say this without it falling on the backbiting because it's documented. I was watching a debate between Hamza and this little, I'm not going to call it devil, but this person called Hatun Tash. Hatun mentioned a hadith where Hamza, and inshallah this is not considered backbiting because it's recorded it's on YouTube for people to watch. Hamza responded with saying that maybe not all hadiths are Sahih in Bukhari, maybe only 95%. So this is a problem for me because, first of all, how can we say that only 95% of the hadiths in Bukhari are authentic and 5% are not? Maybe those are problematic. And second of all, what are those hadiths that are not considered authentic? If Hamza made a mistake, alhamdulillah, then this is something that can be sorted out. But I have heard the statement over and over again that there are a few, not a lot, of the 6,000 or the 4,000 or however many it is in Sahih Bukhari, a few are not authentic. And I have a problem with this because I believe that Allah has preserved this religion for us, the Quran and the Sunnah. And for me, it was never a question that the hadiths in Bukhari are anything but authentic. So this is a very strong statement to say that there are hadiths in Bukhari that are not authentic. If this is a mistake on somebody's part, then I'll accept it. But if there is an opinion such as this, then this has to be sorted out. This has to be cleared up.
I think the main point to mention is that Brother Hamza is not here, right? So obviously we're not going to say he made a mistake or he didn't make a mistake. Brother Hamza can defend himself. You can go ask Brother Hamza the question, right? Now, dealing with the topic you're speaking with, we said there's a difference between saying 95 of the hadith are authentic and saying that the 5% have been criticized. For example, if I criticize something, that doesn't mean necessarily my criticism is correct, right? So it's just because some of the ahadith was criticized by a group of people does not mean their criticism was necessarily correct. Now, when you say, how do you know which ahadith has been, this is not a new topic, by the way. If you ask any scholars have mentioned and talked about this. They say that there are ahadith that a few groups of people, I'll give you an example. Imam al-Daraqutni wrote a book. You can read Imam al-Daraqutni's criticisms of which ahadith, what he spoke about them, what did he say, was his criticism correct or not? And the scholars of hadith, they say, majority of the time, where there is a criticism on a hadith that Imam Bukhari have said, the truth is actually with Bukhari. It's not with the person who's criticizing Bukhari. So yes, there are a hadith criticized. And by the way, we don't say Bukhari. This is something we need to understand. Bukhari is not Allah, right? So Bukhari can make mistakes. No one states that Bukhari has no mistakes completely. No, but when you look at like a handful of hadith, for example, in Bukhari, that maybe there is talk about them and one of them might be correct or one is not incorrect, that's fine. How do we know they're not correct? Through the science. How did we even find out that there is a 5%? That proves that the science is working. The people.
I keep hearing this. That there are some hadiths that are not. I keep hearing this. There are some hadiths that are not be correct. But what are those hadiths? I never hear what they are.
As I told you, Imam I'll let the Sheikh speak because he wants to say something. Imam al-Daraqutni, as I said, has written a book on this, and other scholars have written books on what hadith they criticize. So we're saying is not a hidden thing that you cannot find out. What have you researched yourself? That's the question. Have you went to someone of knowledge who specializes in hadith, like Imam Uthman here, Sheikh Uthman, and you ask him who wrote and what hadith are criticized, or you just heard the topic and you didn't research it, right?
So let me just jump in here. Jazakumullah khairan.
Yeah, of course.
Muhammad, wallahi, beautiful explanation. So let me just explain one thing first, my dear brother. There is, and I'm not going to talk about Hamza because I didn't hear it, and Allah is a good brother, mashallah. And I don't know what happened in that community. So this is nothing to do with him or his comment. I'm just going to make a general comment. First thing to understand that when we talk about Sahih al-Bukhari, we're talking about not just the book, we're talking about all of the chains and all of the mutun. Imam Bukhari has, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, maybe some of the book can help me, but it has about 2,600 unique ahadith. Okay? With repetition, it gets to be 7,900 something, or some more than 7,000. Okay? It's very important to understand what I'm saying. So Imam Bukhari brings a hadith, a matan with a particular sanad, and then he would repeat that in different abwab. Brother from what's his name? The one who's the caller. You understand what I'm saying?
Skeptic,
brother, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm listening. Sorry.
Okay. So when we study, I studied Sahih Bukhari with the Sheikh in Pakistan, and we went through the whole book, hadith by hadith, sanad by sanad, chain by chain. So what would happen is sometimes he would bring a particular sanad, and it was 100% authentic, no problem, all of them are hufaz and so on, that bring a particular wording. Now when he repeats it, he brings another sanad. This is kind of a little bit technical, but I hope this will help you, okay? Now it's the same wording, it's already established by the first mention through a uncriticizable, impeccable, whatever you want to say, beautiful sanad. He will bring another acceptable sanad, but here it might have a rawi who doesn't meet the criteria of Bukhari himself. Okay? Now, why did Imam Bukhari do this? If you look at the shuruh of Bukhari, he did it because he's repeating the matan, the same wording, it's already been established, but now he's bringing different chains to show you that it has come through many different chains. You understand? This is from the amazing way of the compilation of Bukhari. Now, some of those asanid will have a narrator that was criticized by the likes of Muhammad Darqutni or Ibn Jawzi. Many of them were mutashaddidin. They were people that were really extreme in their criticism and so on. So in essence, what's in Sahih al-Bukhari is all acceptable. Okay? Now, we have no such percentage done of 95 or 90. I don't know if anybody's done any kind of statistical analysis, but there might be some narrators that have been criticized, but that doesn't mean the hadith is da'if. You understand what I'm saying? You feel me?
No, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be da'if, but it could be just hasan. I mean, it could be.
No.
It doesn't,
so again,
if there's criticism of a narrator, then.
Excellent. But the earlier matan, through a different sanad, already established it to be sahih. So even if this sanad is hasan, it gets bumped up to sahih li ghayrihi. Right? That's how it works. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now my final little package to kind of like end this here is, for the average Muslim, first thing we have to acknowledge is the Quran and ahadith, as our brother, mashallah, Muhammad eloquently explained, have been preserved through much more than just Bukhari. Okay? So we believe in the Quran, we believe in the established Sahih, Mutawatir, or Sahih ahadith that are established through a science that has been verified by millions, and I'm not exaggerating, scholars over the generations, meaning from the time of the Prophet until our time. Okay? So there is that entire science. One of the best works from that is Sahih al-Bukhari, by the agreement of this ummah. But we never say any book is without doubt except the book of Allah, right? But Bukhari by itself is not all hadith, first thing, right? Secondly, to the average Muslim, if you're a Am Muslim, Bukhari is all authentic to you. Don't worry about it, because there is nothing in it that the ulama have come together and said, you know what, it's weak. Now, some alim criticize a particular chain. This is for the students of knowledge and scholars, and for the Am person to go to the scholars and ask about. But no average person should pick up a Bukhari and be like, that hadith is da'if. No, because the scholars have not done that. Okay? So don't worry about statistics of 95 and 95. Don't get into all of that. The criticism and defense of the rawis in Bukhari have been discussed and are learned by Tullab ilm, like Akhuna Muhammad and others. May Allah reward them. For you, go to brothers like that. Go to the people of knowledge and ask about particular ahadith, and they will explain them to you. And this is why we never want to break that chain between the awam and ulama.
Man, you guys need to make dua.
Yeah, you're muted, Hashim, brother Hashim, you're muted.
You have to make dua for his mic, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right, brother skeptic. Sorry, I forgot your name. I hope you got your response. We'll have to let other.
Can I say one thing before he goes? Brother skeptic. Brother skeptic. A very important point that the Sheikh have mentioned. Maybe you have not noticed correctly. He said not everything mentioned in Bukhari is hadith. Is authentic. Sahih. Imam Bukhari, his book is called Al-Musnad al-Sahih. Whatever has a chain of narration is authentic in Bukhari. There are things which we call ta'liq. So Bukhari has mu'allaqat, which is a person says balagana, someone have told us a certain statement, but there is no chain of narration. So Bukhari is claiming that which has a chain of narration in the book is correct. Not everything in the book is correct.
Inshallah.
I think
قال يا عشيرتي جميعكم حتى ابنتي لا أغني عنكم فاعبدوا إلهكم ووحدوا.
إذا أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والتعليق، ولكي يصلك كل جديد اشترك الآن.